400 families. It's like a small town outside of Philadelphia, and 40% of the, like, 40% of the, like, we're 40 to 50% of the nation's wealth. Then you have the 6 banks on Wall Street that own around like 60 to 65% of the total assets in this country. I mean, we're at their will. We're being like, it's basically we're being held hostage, and it's time to overturn. It's time to like wake up and take it back from them.
So, if someone came up to you like I did and said, "Why are you here?" What would you say?
I'm here because I'm here fighting against corporate greed. It's just something I've always believed in, like that. Like corporations need to be held more in check or more responsible, but we need to like reform our system too. We can't like just reform government completely and tear it down and restart it. We just need to like change up some rules, reinstate some regulations that were taken out in the past 30 years, and that led us to this. I mean, we're living off our Cold War bubble, and the wave has crashed, and now it's like we're living off that high, and the high's gone.
So you don't believe that we should end the Fed or end capitalism?
I'm still supportive of capitalism because any other countries that don't have a form of capitalism don't have a form of democracy, and like countries that are communist, really are suppressing their people, either with like the way like communistic economies, like those same countries also are dictatorships 9 times out of 10 and won't let their people speak out. So it's like we have to be able to speak out here.
Now, we do see some people around here that support end the Fed, some people say end communism. How do you respond to that?
But with end the Fed, it's a little bit more complicated than that because we have to. It's the way we standardize our money, and like we're going to find a way to standardize it. We can't just go back to the gold standard with gold being at like $1,600 an ounce. Like you used to be able to trade your money in for gold. You wouldn't get any gold for like a dollar bill. Same thing like we were with silver too. Like a silver note or gold notes.
So there's a wide variety of perspectives here. Some that are edging on to the more extreme, like anti-capitalism. Do you think that dilutes our message?
It can a little bit because what other like forms of like what other economic like systems have worked. I mean, Europe is capitalistic, but it's also like it has a mix of democratic socialism to it too, where corporations are in check. The thing is with Europe isn't that their socialism crashed them. Same thing that happened over Europe happened over here. The banks were playing with people's money, and then they were just buying up bad assets, and now the banks are falling. Now other countries, they're going to bail them out. In Europe, it's going to be a little bit more different because Germany is the strongest economy in the euro, and now Germany, it's basically up to Germany if they want to decide to hold up the whole rest of Europe when bailing out the European banks instead of their own banks. So it's going to be a messy situation once again.
So I think you and I can both agree, like, we're not here to try to end capitalism, we're trying to end the Fed. We'd just like to see some reform and a change in the law.
Yeah. And like if you look at it, corporations own Washington D.C. 95%, 94% of our elected officials out fundraise their opponents in their elections. I mean, that's kind of telling me if you need money to win. Like you need if you out campaign your opponent, out fundraise your opponent, you're going to become 9 times out of 10 you're going to win. Like it's if the campaigners say, the corporate money doesn't influence me, then you got to ask them, well, are they wasting their money by giving it to you? I mean,
how do they respond on that?
Well, I mean, if you look at Pennsylvania's issue with Governor Corbett, the guy received over $1 million a year to make received over around $1 million from natural gas drillers, and for what, $150,000 job a year. I mean, he's backing someone's interest. I mean, $1 million can go a long way for someone that's making $150,000 a year.
The corporation wouldn't spend that money if they didn't do something.
No.
So what do you think? Like, what are some of the challenges here for us as people part of the Occupy Philadelphia to try and craft a message that's not too extreme as far as like end capitalism, but be able to say something, coherent and articulate exactly what we're trying to do.
I think right now this is a populist movement, and it's covering a wide range of issues. As this grows and as this goes on longer, I think we'll finally I think an end game will start to appear with demands from this is what we want. And I think an end game would come, but it's going to take some time because with our General Assemblies, we're throwing ideas around, and each day we're going to get used to that. And if that's happening around the country, it's going to build up. Everyone's going to build up something like we can all, agree on. I don't think what Wall Street's demands are should be what our demands are. Our demands, we should, articulate them and talk about them, and then we should follow. We should have a consensus around the other movements around the country and see what their demands are, and whatever ones come up the most is what should be heavily talked about.
I have to be honest, I have a fear that there are ideas that are articulated clearly soon that the movement might lose some of its steam if there's not something to rally around. Do you think that's
No, I don't, because we're always getting every day we're just getting people ask us, how can we do this, how can we do that, what's your point, what's your reasons for doing this, and we want to tell them it's all inclusive. There's 99%, so 99% is going to cover a wide range of issues, and a lot of the issues stem from the bailout. It's something that liberals, conservatives, and everyone in the middle can agree on, that the bailouts have failed us. And it's evident now that with this recession lasting longer, and now we have companies like Bank of America who are charging people $5 for just to have a checking account there a month. And they got all of our, they took billions of our money to begin with. It's absurd.
Actually, just to fact check it, it's to use your debit card with your checking account.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just...
Okay.
Mine are different.
Yeah. So that's a good point. There is kind of something to rally around, something to articulate, and that is the rejection of the bailouts and the money that the banks got and the power that the banks have. Trying to regulate the banks more effectively, maybe. Would that be one of them?
We can regulate them more, but I doubt it's going to happen. I think to get the banks moving and to scare them, we're going to have to do actions on our own. Instead of going with big banks like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or Citizens Bank, we should look for more credit unions and go for smaller banks and split up the money the way it used to be before, 30 years ago, when you didn't have banks that were too big to fail. Because if you have a bank that's too big to fail and it fails, you're it's putting all your chickens and putting your eggs in one basket.
So you think we don't have a chance of having a popular uprising, putting pressure on politicians to institute tighter, stricter regulation on existing banks? You think that's possible? I think
it can be possible, but we're gonna have to vote. We're going to vote in politicians that are going to agree with us, but not down party lines, because people are because it's such wide range. I think what happened is we have a government now that's just, the minority just wants to kick and scream and shoot everything down and not go along with it. The political instability is causing some of this, frustrations to come out. And it's on both ends of the aisle.
So the approach, I guess what you're saying is kind of, we're going to approach this from a democratic position where we can try to make policy and legislation changes, but also our own behavior, taking our money to an independent bank or a credit union, something like that, trying to put pressure on various different ways.
Basically using capitalism against itself.
Yeah, basically just pinning it against itself. It's the best thing about capitalism. You have the freedom to do whatever you want instead of having all your money in one bank. Let's educate people and let them know what's going on, and then people let people run the bank if they want to and put it in other banks, in smaller banks. Yeah.